directions for creating your coil pot. Here is an example that I created a while back just to show you what it looks like when it's finished. You can add the extra spirals in it, or if you would like to omit those, that's fine too. To help get you started, I created a circular base that you will eventually add your coils to. For now though, it's extremely important to start by using a toothpick to draw your name or kind of carve your name in there. Make sure it's as neat as possible so that it's easy to read. Otherwise, it's very challenging to hand back artwork if we cannot find or read names. And then add your teacher code. You'll be creating the coils, and then later on, if you want to add the extra decorative pieces, you can. But you really want to start kind of building up the coils first. So to do this, you just need a small amount of clay, maybe the size of a golf ball or even smaller. You really don't need too much. And then you're going to kind of squash it so it's elongated a little bit. That helps for it to be easier to roll on your placemat. And you really want to make sure that you're not keeping your fingers super close together the whole time, because what happens is you end up putting pressure on one area and then you end up with a coil. Well, it kind of looks like a snake. When you're rolling it, it ends up being flatter in some areas than others. So it's important to use even pressure and kind of rotate from side to side as you're rolling it out to try and make it as uniform and same as possible. When you're ready to attach, you need just a tiny amount of water in a dish on your table, and you're going to use a toothpick and really scuff up the surface, scratch up the surface. It shouldn't be lightly scratched. You actually need to have some divots in there so that the water can get into those spaces, and then when you eventually put it together, it gives it a way to kind of have two pieces of clay latch together. So I scratched up the base, and now I'm kind of double checking to see how long I need my coil to be. I'm going to trim it with my toothpick, and then the side that I will attach, you're going to do the same thing, and you're going to scratch the surface. So it won't look very nice, but once it's hidden, you won't be able to see it. And any spots that are showing, you can easily smooth those out later, so don't worry about it. Then just a little bit of water on your finger. You're going to pat water around on the spaces that you scratched, and this helps the clay and water kind of create a slip mixture, and it creates the sort of glue type mixture to help it stick together. If you don't do this step, your project will fall apart. It's extremely important to not skip this part. So pat water along all the scratched surfaces, gently tip it over and kind of squash it until it's stuck in place. Be gentle so that you're not smashing the clay, but you should feel it start to kind of attach to the other piece. And then make adjustments if you need to. Just a little bit of smoothing out along the way is helpful. And I'm checking by kind of just gently wiggling to see that it is securely attached to the base. If it's not sticking, then you'll have to try again and make sure that your scratching is a little bit more. You just keep going with this process, and you could do all coils just like this simply, or later on I'll show you how you can create some kind of extra decorations. So same exact process. Make sure that when you attach your coils that you're attaching them kind of right on the top and not on the sides, because what happens is it will dramatically change the outcome of your piece. So it kind of needs to be directly on the top, or otherwise you're going to end up with kind of a flat, wide looking pot, or one that gets skinny way too fast. It's also a good idea not to have the seam of where the two ends of your coil come together be in the same spot every time. Remember, if you choose, you may add some swirled coils as decoration in your coil pot. To do this, you'll need smaller coils. These ones aren't going to be quite as thick as the other ones you've been using to attach to the base of your pot. And you're going to just basically go in kind of a circular motion to create the swirl. And as you do this, you'll use your opposite thumb to sort of flatten it as you go. And when you're done doing that, add a little bit of water to smooth out the surface and get it attached together. And also, if there's any cracking happening, because the clay starts to dry out sometimes when we work with it, you want to add a little water to just gently smooth out those spots. Remember, not too much water, otherwise you'll get yourself into trouble with some kind of like squishy, not so nice to work with clay. Once you're done smoothing it out, you're going to scratch the two surfaces that are going to mend together, just like you did with your coils. And then you will use water and then gently squash it till it feels like it's stuck there. You'll be able to tell if it's stuck. If you let go of it and it falls off, you'll probably need to try again. You have lots of options if you're doing these kind of swirled coil embellishments. You can repeat this with different sizes going all the way around. You could do the same size. You could do what I'm doing where I'm kind of spacing them out. And then I'm gonna put one of the regular coils that I started with and overlap them. And later on, you'll see me add other kind of decorative type embellishments as I go, or you can simply just do the plain coils. As I described earlier, I am adding one of the regular coils on top of the two spiraled ones that I added across from each other. And I'm still making sure to scratch up the surface and add water to both of the surfaces that are going to be attached together, remembering not to use too much water. It can be a little tricky going over different shapes, but it is possible. Clay is very flexible, so it goes around these kind of spots. You just have to squash them together gently. And you keep going with this process and create whatever kind of patterns and designs you choose. Remember, if you'd like to just stick with simply doing only regular coils, that is okay too. You get to keep going, adding whatever kind of embellishments you'd like. I even took and made some kind of ball shapes and I flattened them a bit and put those in there as well, adding coils on top, making sure everything's nice and securely attached each time. When you are done with your clay building, you're just going to use a teeny amount of water to smooth out any spots that need smoothing, any reshaping. Your coil pot will only probably be about 3 or 4 inches tall, just something to think about as you're working. And then any extra clay at the end of class you're going to place on the tray, empty your water cup, and then place your toothpick back on the tray. This, I just wanted to show you an up close of what my clay building looks like to give you a little ideas. Ultimately, your design is up to you though.